Hello, everyone. It's me, Travis, and it is episode 3 of Frantic Purpose. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but 3 episodes every two for bi-weekly. I mean, like total, cool. Good job, Travis. Also, Amanda is here, so there may be random Amanda showing up somewhere. I have dinner with my parents to celebrate something. Um, Long story short, I was headhunted in a good way uh, by a company. Hit me up for to apply for this position, and I applied in February, and then months passed, and then they got back to me. Long story short, I got this position. Yay me! It's on par with what I want to do in my career, and I'm very happy about it. It's going to be wild and crazy and challenging, and I wanted to use this as a platform to talk about why people stay in one spot. And I've kind of touched about it before, um, but I feel like fear is a big stopper for everyone. And that may be silly to say because it's so obvious, but I mean, I think people trick themselves into feeling comfortable. They're like, I'm staying here because it's my choice. But I think a lot of people stay in the same spot because it's safe. And they frame it like it's like a choice they're making, but in reality, fear is making that choice. I'm sure many people disagree, and that would be your fear defending your position. I guess there's no winning against the fear. Um, I'm not saying it's bad to stay in one spot. I've stayed in one spot at no point in my life other than growing up, and even then, I was like, I gotta go, and I went to Sacramento, and I lived there, and then I went into the Air Force, and they moved me everywhere. So, kind of my language of life is moving, and I've always experienced fear in every single spot that required movement. Like, oh man, Travis, it looks like you're gonna have to be going in the Air Force, and I don't care how afraid you are; it's the right choice. Okay, we'll only go 8 years, and that's like me having a conversation with myself, which I do on a pretty regular basis. Um, then getting out of the military, everyone was like, "Why are you getting out of the military?" And I'm like, "Well, because it's just what's next." And they're like, "What are you going to do? Flip burgers?" I'm like, "Maybe I don't know. I want to do something." And then the next went to the next, went to the next, and I just follow what makes sense. And it is scary every time, but I would rather fail, I guess, than stay. I think currently I work for a local news company, and it's great. I like everyone there, and I think that I have done a lot. I mean, I know I've done a lot there to help out technical wise, systems wise. I don't know if you know, I do like IT stuff. I've been doing IT stuff for 13 years. That is a very like boiled down description, but yeah, that's what I do. And on the side, I do this. I do like music and art and whatever. I'm always, and hence the name Frantic Purpose. I gotta do something, whatever. But back to the story. I like where I work, but at the same time, when the universe reaches out and says like, here's a new opportunity, it will be high speed, it will be agile, it will be crazy. Um, I tend to say yes, and that may be bonkers to most people, but I feel like that's what forward movement looks like. It's scary and it's weird and it's abstract, and suddenly you have a chance to do something that I plan to get this position within the next 5 years, and I plan to do that this Jan. Like basically, my New Year's resolution was, I'm 35. By the time I'm 40, I want to be a director of IT. And my next position is director of IT and operations. Um, and it happened 5 months into the year. And that's wild. And now we're going to go get sushi. Me, Amanda, and my parents. And I don't know. That's one thing I'm sure I know is I don't know. I never know what the result's going to be. I could spectacularly fail. I could totally blow it. And nuclear option, which is slang for worst case scenario, is I quit or they fire me. And honestly, the idea of that is kind of calming, mostly because I don't have a lot of time off. And even with my time off, a lot of the times I have a lot of stuff structured and planned. So I don't know. It's weird that we all have to work so much. And we all spend time with strangers for a lot of our lives. Ugh, more burps. This should be called the burp cast. But we all have to go in. I'm envious of Amanda's position because she can make her schedule what she wants. Like she could add more hours. She can work it to, basically have someone cover her shift. It's more modular. And I've been in very, strict position, schedules since the Air Force. I think the last time I was able to be modular with my schedule was at the movie theater, and then for a little tiny amount of time I was at Hollister slinging clothes. Hey, what's up? It was fun. I had long curly hair. Yes, I did look cool, and I wore Levi's, and they told me to wear Hollister, and I said sure, and I just never did it. It's a funny story there. I was at that job because essentially I was fired from the movie theater job. It was erroneous and weird. Basically, I was interviewing for the Border Patrol. I didn't get it, but I had an interview that had to do with my schedule, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to make it. It was 3 weeks ahead, and no one would take my thing and my shift, and I was like, I can't make it. And then they're like, okay. And I got back and they're like, yeah, it looks like you're fired. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. And I tried to appeal it. I don't even know what happened with that. But the funny thing is the guy who fired me got fired not long after me. And that's fine. So then I started the process to get in the military, and I was at Hollister, and I told them that it'd be temporary and I was waiting to just get orders. And they're like, okay. And then when I did, they were like, hey, do you want to get this top secret job in the Air Force? And I was like, yeah. So then that day I walked back in to Hollister, and on the back dry erase board, I wrote Travis quits. And then I left. I don't know how that went. I feel like it went okay because I've never heard from them ever again. But I don't know how I got down that rabbit hole other than it's weird that we work. I get the infrastructure. I'm not confused as to why we work, because we need money to do things we like. But I mean, ideally, it'd be great to not work. And I think we're all in the same boat there. But I also question if people could handle an infrastructure where work wasn't possible. Segue into, I've just finished Next Generation, which is Star Trek. I know it's May the 4th, so it's a holy Star Wars day, but I've been watching a lot of Star Trek, and it's so funny. Justin and Elliot, these guys I work with, are resident Star Trek experts. And I'm like, wow, I wonder what their pay scale is. Being in the military, there's always a pay scale. And they're like, oh, there isn't one. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, it's they don't have a system of payment. Money doesn't exist in Star Trek. And I'm like, I don't know. I guess I was just confused. I'm like, so why? And then we started talking about why someone would want to be captain. And I guess you would probably get the people who have always wanted to be captain regardless of pay. So I think you might actually get the best people doing the best things, just no payment. You just be working because you want to, which is odd to think about. And I think if let's say we entered into the utopian awesomeness of okay, we all get medical and we all get paid. and we all get enough to do what we need to do in life. And what do you do then? Let's say everything is provided. What do you do? My guess, actually, let's get into what I would do. I think that for me, I would be fine. I think I would have a structure like I was working, like for, 4 or 5 days. I'd have a brick of time where I did creative work, and I'd have like a distribution schedule. So like this many pieces of art by the end of the month, this many podcasts every 2 weeks, and also this many musics, this many songs per month, and I'd have that. And then after I had my goals and I checked off those boxes, I'd go enjoy life, hopefully, and that's cool. For me, I don't. I'm. We've all been born into this infrastructure of having to work for money. So like my metric for success is almost like how much money can I get paid? And the ladder means I'm climbing the ladder to get paid more so that I can maximize my life. And that's my goal. It's like get paid more, be able to bless people I love and have good like it's all based on that. So if that wasn't there, which doesn't make sense even as I talk about it, I'm like, how do I like let's say me and Amanda want to just go to Paris and hang out. Is that free? Is everything free? So I'd have way too many questions. But let's keep it basic. I don't think most people would be able to function. Like if we suddenly switch tracks, I think people that were born into this infrastructure would almost inevitably fail, and maybe like critically so. Because now you don't have an infrastructure to know your purpose. And for humans, purpose is like a big deal. We need to feel it. And even if you're not doing anything, like people grab onto like politics or sports or any of these like third party things where you get to kind of like take on the accomplishments of others and kind of wear them as yourselves. Like we all kind of we all wear jerseys of people who are very talented, and it's kind of like this voyeur experience, and that makes purpose. And for some people, I'm not big on that, but I understand why it's something people like to do. I like baseball for sure, but that's like a novelty. I grew up playing baseball, and it reminds me of like just really good feelings. And of course, I like to watch the experts play baseball, and the Giants do okay. Um, but I imagine most people wouldn't be able to make structure. We're all so used to having our structure made. Get to work at these hours, dress like this. Once you're done with your shift, you get to go home and go to bed and come back and do it again. And it's like, okay, but now you don't have that. Now no one's telling you that. Now, let's say if you have a family, if you're just a, wife and husband, or husband, husband, wife, whatever you want, like you're a married couple or just a couple, now you're together all the time. And that would change the dynamic of that relationship. Absolutely. And it's kind of like how like a lot of people experienced in COVID, people were forced to communicate, forced to be in the same house, in the same room, in the same, like forced to face each other at all moments and like spend those 40 hours that we're over here. Now they're like with me and you, which is, it's a lot for some people. For me, it'd be great. But I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if I'd like it. Like, how do you win? Like, for me, winning equals like Vegas wouldn't exist. Like you'd go to Vegas and what would you do? Like it would be like, well, jackpot, here's nothing, I guess. I don't know. Like I like the everything to do with that infrastructure, but I don't know. How would I, no clue. And I would be interested to see how a utopian, universal income, all that good stuff, because it happens. I just have a million questions, but no one can really answer those things. We don't live in that world, okay? We live in America where you earn your life 1 hour at a time, paycheck to paycheck or whatever. Um, and I'm not necessarily sarcastic or ironic about it. I accept, like, a big part of my personality is accepting the rules of the game and playing the game. I love competition, and it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to win. Good competition is satisfying in itself, and it's just awesome. So within that, I was born here, so I was taught. Hold on, I think this is my parents. Okay, this is gonna be a short one, I guess. Bummer. Um, I think competition is healthy as long as you're not defined by the outcome. As long as you know that you put in the effort to do your best, the outcome shouldn't matter. And people, if you're facing someone who's equal or better, it's even better for you because that's growth. And I think that's what I'm doing right now in my career. I'm kind of in competition with myself. I could have stayed at my job and it would have been fine. I probably wouldn't have been promoted. I probably would have been fired in 2 or 3 years because of the nature of everything. I don't see an incredible amount of longevity in local news. And I would have just stayed because I believe it was the safe choice. And in knowing that and having that delivered to me in my brain, just like, oh, you could stay, it'll be okay. It's nice here. That's when I knew I had to go. And I had to take this difficult position because that's what my life has been. And my personal mantra is kind of like, if you're not in hellfire, if things are super comfortable, you will start to see decomposition. I work out 5 days a week at least. And that's for maintenance. And it's the same thing. If you don't use your body, it will decompose. If you don't challenge yourself to grow as a human, just as a whole, mind, body, soul, whatever, you will decompose. You'll never know what's in store for you if you don't try to crack out of the shell and metamorphosize into each iteration of yourself. And each time there's fear. And I guess as I'm wrapping up, I guess, which is a bummer, you will face fear, and that doesn't mean it's the wrong choice. Fear in this case, like in progress, in personal progress, when you look at that ugly thing that you always try to avoid, when someone makes you look at it, when you're led to look at it, and you feel intense fear and disgust, that I personify that as the little demon, which is what I call those little problems, fearing its extermination. So when you point your lasers at the thing causing the problem, you feel fear because it's comfortable. I have no idea if I'm making sense, but it does to me. You got to destroy that so you can know what you could become. And for me in my life, battling like anxiety and depression and a whole bunch of other stuff, if I didn't at a young age acknowledge that there's something off about me, that there's something different about something inside of me, and I just said, oh, who cares? I wouldn't have been successful in life and relationships. I would be like, no doubt, like the casualty of intense anxiety and depression, and probably addiction and drug use and drinking too much. Luckily, I'm in the dimension where I am not that. I am healthy, and I challenge myself to do things that are scary, like take a job that's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit. But then I'll do what I do. I'll flex those muscles. I'll grow, and I'll dominate it because that's what I want to do. And that's what I have done. And that's what the evidence suggests that is what will happen. Just from my past. Nothing emotional about it. It's just like, that's what you do, Travis. And I guess that's what you can do too. Like, if you are the victim of being comfortable, you already know. 100% you're listening to this and you're like, man, I am that. You know, it's identifiable. You're not doing anything to challenge yourself. You're not challenging you even to like read a book or expand your mind or enjoy life in general. And you may be like, well, I just like enjoy it in my how I like, and it's not like, it's not healthy to just keep doing the same thing inside and outside and outside and inside. And I don't know, man. I just want to encourage you to grow in the smallest way. You know, if you don't get outside and have a nice walk once a day, you're missing out, you know? There's so much to life that is worth celebrating. And I feel like a lot of people are in their fear bubbles, thinking about depressing things or running from depressing thoughts. And they use like, there's all this binge this show, binge this content. And everyone's just burying themselves in content to run away from the, I don't know, mortality or like the fear of not being worth anything. And I don't know, anything to stay a step ahead of those bummer feelings, those bummer realities. And it's going to catch up. It always does. And the way you do it, you just turn around and you go to war and you win against those things in any way, shape, or form. So start by taking a walk, thinking about stuff. It's fun. Or, you know, get hammered and forget you ever listened to this. All right. I think that's it for this episode. It's a little bit short. It is what it is. I got to go out, meet my parents at this sushi spot, and have some great food. And then there's the Warriors game, which I have pretend money on. The Lakers winning this series, so we'll see. I'm not a betrayer. Okay. Have a great one. Enjoy life. Find something fun to do, you know? Get excited. Watch a sunset, you know? Go to the beach. Go to beach and watch the sunset. Go to the beach, watch the sunset, and have a bonfire. Have you ever done that before? It's worth it. You do it. All right. I'm Travis. See you next time.